What might occur if the world lost oxygen for 30 seconds? You probably won't have the foggiest idea about this, yet scientists have found that oxygen is gradually depleting out of the world's air the present moment, and it is a major secret with respect to why. Researchers breaking down ice centers from Antarctica and Greenland found that oxygen levels have dropped 0.7% over the most recent 800,000 years. In this way, the Earth is losing oxygen gradually. No, that is not dangerous for the present. However, what might occur assuming oxygen abruptly disappeared? No oxygen in the air, the water, and unexpectedly no oxygen in any living thing for 30 seconds. 30 seconds is quite a while. Contingent upon the circumstance. Many individuals fail to see what amount of time 30 seconds truly is and require for this smidgen of time for allowed. In any case, pause your breathing for 30 seconds, and you understand. However, this isn't tied in with pausing your breathing. In our psychological test, all oxygen atoms have disappeared as though it disintegrated into nothing immediately. What might be the outcomes, and what might befall people, plants, trees, creatures, and the actual Earth? Earth's air is something beyond the air we inhale. It additionally makes barometrical strain to which each living thing is under. The all-out mass of Earth's climate is around 5.8 quadrillion tons. The absolute mass of oxygen in the environment is around 1.2 million billion metric tons. The air we inhale is 78% nitrogen, around 20% oxygen, 1% argon, and some follow measures of different gases. You're taking in more nitrogen than oxygen, as a matter of fact. Notwithstanding, the most predominant component in our bodies is oxygen. It makes up 65% of the human body. Alongside water, oxygen is answerable for 90% of the body's energy. Without oxygen, life as far as we might be concerned basically can't get by. Presently envision removing it in a moment. The typical human purpose is around 555 liters of oxygen each day. Involving all the oxygen from your body in a moment would cause a few intense and undesirable secondary effects. All things considered, people breathe in and breathe out around 15 times each moment. To get sufficient oxygen to remain alive, this isn't equivalent to pausing your breathing, where you would in any case have a stock of oxygen in your body for 3 to 5 minutes. In this situation, your body would have zero oxygen. Your cells would almost certainly pass on in a flash, having lost the capacity to diminish their osmolarity, so the equilibrium of water is changed. Oxygen is expected to transform sugar into energy. Without it, living cells immediately run out of energy and kick the bucket. Nonetheless, almost certainly, every cell would grow and explode. While this was going on, the skin of each and every human would likely become blue and purple, your hands and feet would begin tangling, disarray, bewilderment, and fantasies. Not a very end by any means. Also what the deficiency of oxygen in the air can do. With 20% of the world's climate out of nowhere missing, most living animals would promptly encounter quick decompression disorder, in which nitrogen broke up in the blood and tissue structures rises as the tension reductions. This occasionally happens to scuba jumpers and causes chest torments, trouble breathing, and loss of awareness. With the 21% moment loss of pneumatic stress, everybody's internal ear would agonizingly detonate. It would be equivalent to hopping from ocean level down 2,000 meters in a flash. Most creatures on Earth would probably experience the very issues that people would incite. Fish in the seas would almost certainly pass on inside the space of seconds with practically no oxygen. Furthermore, in the event that the seas were transforming into hydrogen gas without oxygen, they wouldn't have the option to inhale in any case. Eventually, every living thing containing water would burst quickly without oxygen. Fires can't consume, and that amounts to something that has to do with ignition will out of nowhere quit working. Vehicles would quit running, planes would lose their motors, anything that utilizes inward ignition would quit working without oxygen. This would make a chain of occasions that would probably clear out everything at the same time. 434 thermal energy stations all around the world have lost their cooling water, with the chance of a considerable lot of them just breaking down in the 30 seconds with practically no oxygen particles anyplace in the framework. Another fascinating thing that would occur without oxygen particles in the climate would be that any untreated bits of exposed metal lying on the Earth would combine as though they were heat welded. This is a realized cycle called cold welding. In the vacuum of room, you can contact two bits of metal together, and they will bond together as though welded. It is logical exactly the same thing would now occur here. The world sea would immediately begin to vanish, transforming into hydrogen gas and surging upwards toward space from the abrupt environmental change. Hydrogen is combustible, however oxygen isn't, yet regardless of whether you separate the two, hydrogen can't consume without oxygen. So what you have left over are huge billows of hydrogen gas in the air. As the seas and oceans generally dissipated on the double, water is 89% oxygen by weight, and as one oxygen particle consolidates with two hydrogen molecules, which equivalent H2O, as oxygen vanishes from the seas, water, the hydrogen part turns into an unbound free gas. Hydrogen gas, being the lightest, will ascend to the upper-lower atmosphere and gradually seep into space. So, the seas would begin to vanish into the air. With oxygen missing from the world's climate, the sky would lose its blue tone and change into a more obscure variety. The sky is blue since daylight bounces off huge iotas of oxygen and nitrogen in the environment. Assuming that you eliminate the oxygen from the air, the sky would be dark rather than blue. You would have the option to see brilliant stars overhead during the day. The very ground we stroll on is contained 46.1% oxygen. The world's covering has a lot of oxygen in its volume alongside the silicon, aluminum, iron, and different materials. It is conceivable that the world's covering would disintegrate separated assuming oxygen was abruptly taken out, which would make extraordinary landmass movements and tremors. It is even believed that anything worked with cement could likewise fall assuming you eliminated all oxygen atoms. So envision each substantial construction on the planet unexpectedly disintegrating to the ground. Alongside the way that the ground beneath holds almost half oxygen by volume and is additionally disintegrating endlessly. The ozone layer that safeguards us has 3 oxygen iotas. Eliminate the oxygen from the light blue gas, and presently unexpectedly the Earth begins to become barraged with bright radiation. Anything outside in the immediate daylight would be singed or cooked alive, plants would abruptly start to wither and kick the bucket, unfit to process. Indeed, it is actually the case that plants take in carbon dioxide and deliver oxygen, yet plant cells actually need oxygen to make do. All with this large number of unnerving things we referenced, it very well may be a great opportunity to let you know that there isn't any opportunity that the Earth will out of nowhere lose its oxygen. All is great, there is more oxygen in the air than the Earth needs right now, and, surprisingly, in the worst situation imaginable, we could never run out of oxygen as people, plants, the seas, and the actual Earth are continually reusing oxygen. In any case, presently you know exactly the way that significant oxygen is for the endurance of practically everything in the world. We genuinely want to believe that you partake in this video. Did we miss anything? What might occur? Let us know by giving us a like and a comment. Make sure you don't miss a new release and click the subscribe button, and get notified when we release a new video.